Welcome to my tag of the day. Today I am going to be using the 3D embossing folders from Sizzix and Tim Holtz. I was inspired by his live this past weekend, so I got out my supplies to use them. I'm using the Kaleidoscope 3D folder, a Big Shot, and the cutting platform. There are tutorials on how to use your Big Shot machine with the embossing folders. You have to make sure that the thickness is right. Big tip is to spritz your paper before you run it through your machine. It helps loosen up the fibers of your paper. So I'm using, again, the Kaleidoscope 3D embossing folder. I'm using 2 colors of Distress Oxide. I'm going first with cracked pistachio. I'm doing a very, very light brushing of the ink. I'm swirling it over the top. I really just want ink on the embossed images, the texture of it. So then I'm going to go in with the second color, which is Warm Lipstick. I'm going to just add a little bit more pressure to get color on the embossed image and also on the original tag level, I guess you can say. After I'm done distressing, I am going to heat set just to make sure it's all dry. There are some spots that I could see that didn't have enough color, so I went in again with the cracked pistachio just to add a little bit more pressure with it than the first time. I'm using the Tim Holtz portrait images. I am trying to make sure you really see the background. I didn't want to cover it up, but I knew I needed another layer, so you see my fingers tapping in there a couple times because I'm trying to figure out what to use. I also grabbed out a tiny text stamped image that I had already ready to go. It's one of my mass make things that I'd like to do. I decided on a bit of lace, so I'm going to add that to it. I'm just going to snip off 2 pieces. I'm going to use the same lace in the hole to just add some ribbon to the top, and then I'm going to use my tiny attacher to staple the rest of the lace piece onto the bottom. I did cut it crooked, so I'm going to use the thicker end of what I trimmed. After I placed the lace, I realized that the little tiny text sentiment was too small, so I went for my little box of quote chips and pulled out "Love This Life," so I'm going to use that. I added my adhesive to the back and go to place it on and realize that because it's embossed, there's not enough area for the glue, so it just came right off. So I had to go in and add quite a bit more adhesive, stick it down, give it a good push. First I started to just use the bottom of my glue, and then realized that my brayer was right there, so give it a good forceful push on that to make sure it sticks. Gonna take off the quote chips. Are supposed to be adhesive. I can never get it to separate properly, so I just add glue. They still work, but I just peel off some of the chipboard piece and then add my own adhesive. I want to add a little bit of highlight to the paper doll. Paper dolls, for me, the best accent or coloring mechanism is the distress crayons. I've tried watercolor pencils before and I don't get enough color, but I'm just using the scattered straw distress crayon and my water brush, and I'm just painting it on just a little bit and then adding a little bit of pearls. These came from Michael's, I believe, quite a while ago, so they're kind of old. As I'm moving it, I realized that the stick didn't come off on the pearl. It stayed on the little transparency, so just add some glue and stick it back down. So that's my tag of the day. For more tags, visit me on YouTube from my scrap room. Thanks for watching, everyone. Get out your supplies and happy crafting.